Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Whole Truth. I'm your host, Gil R. Bell, your attorney at law. One second while I just get my video a little bit better. So, I felt like doing a live to discuss my evolving opinions about the Andrew Wilson Candace Owens debate. Hey, X Samurai, what's up? By the way, that intro was by Eclectic Journalist who did it for me. So special thanks to her. Hi, Mindy. Hi, X Samurai. I'm beginning to change my opinion about the Andrew Wilson Candace Owens debate. And if you've been following me, you know that basically, Andrew won hands down by every available metric. He won. He owned her. But I was still I felt like the whole debate was futile. And I still think that maybe that's the case. But I'm beginning to change my opinion because I think Andrew had some strategery behind it, and I think that he's been saying that this is going to age like fine wine, and I'm starting to agree. Um, I think that Candace really made a fool of herself, and that the debate is going to age well for our side. And by our side, I mean the truth seeking side, the side of good, the side of the grieving widow, the side of honesty, and the side against Candace Owens. Now, Andrew Wilson is not somebody I agree with on everything for certain, but he's good to have on our side. And he also has a lot of evidence that we're going to be getting. Um, Now, I don't know if we would really qualify this as evidence, not evidence that necessarily would be admissible in a court of law. And I can explain kind of, the difference between evidence about motive, especially in a case like this, and actual court admissible evidence. But it's certainly better evidence than anything Candace has produced. And specifically and I'll get to it, what Andrew has been showing is that Charlie Kirk was far more afraid of leftists' violence than Israel or the French Foreign Legion, if he was even afraid of them at all. And the one message that from the WhatsApp group, which I've kind of gone over ad nauseum, that Candace pumped out and has been pretty much the only source of evidence that she says points to someone other than Tyler Robinson, is now being countered by texts from Charlie to his security team that shows that he was far more afraid of leftist violence, and he should. That makes sense, right? All the leftist violence that we've seen over the past few years against Trump, against others, it's undeniable. That's not to say that there's no violence coming from the right. Of course there is, but the vast majority recently has been from the left. And to think again, I made this point so many times, but you're going to hear it again. To think that Israel would take out Charlie Kirk is retarded. So, yeah, Jacqueline, thanks for coming. I think I knew a Jacqueline Brennan in high school. You wouldn't happen to be the same Jacqueline Brennan, right? I'm curious. The one thing he will be showing is the proof of where Erica and Harpool were. There's a federal lawsuit against her. She admitted on her show Erica Kirk gave her flight logs, but she doesn't believe them. Okay, I need a little bit more context about what you're talking about. I did see High Eclipse Truth and Tanya. You're talking about Aruba. Everyone be jealous of Tanya for being in Aruba. All hi, Jacqueline, Jackie Bolin. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Please help me grow my channel. I appreciate it. Hi, Rana. So, I want to play. Yeah, I want to play the clip of Andrew Wilson talking about the text messages he's received. And I want to just again, I'm beginning to think that maybe this debate was worth it. The idea of Candace Owens getting any more money from Charlie Kirk's death is obscene. It's obscene, but she's making a ton of money regardless. And so to think that $300,000 more, which to me is a lot of money, to most people that's a lot of money, but to her, I don't know if it's all that much money, is really that big of a deal if we're actually going to be able to make her look like a fool. I'm beginning to change my mind. Uh, and the goal here is to just make her and her fans feel foolish, and they will at trial, because at trial we are going to see so much more evidence that Tyler Robinson is guilty. It's just going to be, I mean, I already think it's overwhelming, but if even the dumbasses will not be able to counter it, it's just going to be such a shit show of evidence. Pardon my language. Oh, okay. Jacqueline, so Jacqueline is saying that we all know that one of Candy's conspiracy slop things that she was pushing was that there was a meeting at Fort Huachuca where this guy Mitch Snow, who is her one source, has a very shady history, um, and now he's the subject of a lawsuit along with Candace Owens. Um, anyway, so he said that he saw Erica Kirk there. I think he said he saw Brian Harpole there. Yeah, he must have said that also. Basically, part of this, his theory or his story was that they all met to plan the Charlie Kirk murder. And so she was pumping that out, and apparently, according to what Jacqueline is saying, uh, Erica provided her proof that she was not at Fort Huachuca. Erica provided Candace proof, and yet Candace still ran with the story, didn't retract it, didn't do anything about it. And so apparently Andrew Wilson has got proof of this, and he's going to drop that. So it sounds like it does sound like Andrew Wilson is kind of being the dog for, and I'm not saying that insultingly. I'm just saying he's being their pit bull, fighting Candace, probably because Erica Kirk is a classy lady and she doesn't want to get dragged into the dirt with a pig like Candace Owens. So, but she can't just let this go on. They can't. This is doing so much damage to TPUSA, to Erica Kirk, to Charlie Kirk's legacy, to the trial against Tyler Robinson. It's all, I would say 95% of it is Candace Owens. Maybe 3% of it is Baron Coleman, and 2% are other idiots. But like 95% of it is Candace. And so I like seeing Andrew be this pit bull. I think he's the right one to do it. And again, I didn't feel this way after watching the debate. I was a little bit disappointed. And I said beforehand, it's futile. But now I'm starting to kind of change my mind about it. I never thought that Candace won. I mean, Candace is an idiot. She can't win a debate against a doorknob. But that wasn't my point. My point was that it was futile. But now I'm beginning to think differently. And let's check out some clips that show it. By the way, give me some advice. I'm trying kind of a new setup here. Okay. So let's check out some some clips. Da, 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 da. do I rewind?
There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist, Charlie Kirk, this is Charlie, feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to the security team on September 9th, 2025.
Yeah, we should show that text message that you read just because I think that's important for the public. You shared it out of context.
I'll do it on my show. I'll share the text.
So you're going to read it on my show but not show it?
Correct. Got to drip out that evidence, keep people coming back for the show, right?
We now have the text messages, and Candace Owens is totally coping over it. Whenever you made the excuse earlier in this debate that you...
Sorry, did I miss all your guys' messages? Sorry. Okay. It's hard for me to follow all the messages and everything. Turn up the volume. Yes. Okay, let me rewind it.
There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist, Charlie Kirk, this is Charlie, feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to the security team on September 9th, 2025.
Yeah, we should show that text message that you read just because I think that's important for the public. You shared it out of context.
I'll do it on my show. I'll share the text.
So you're going to read it on my show but not show it?
Correct. Got to drip out that evidence, keep people coming back for the show, right?
We now have the text messages, and Candace Owens is totally coping over it. Whenever you made the excuse earlier in this debate that you were allowed to drip out your evidence...
So you're just going to drip to them?
Where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high-ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless?
Of course.
Of course, she doesn't have to provide any proof to back any of her claims. She only showed us, finally, video footage of Terrell playing on his computer, I guess, is the way she considers it, when she's been sitting on that footage since October. Yeah, tell me you're not dripping out the evidence. Here is the text message directly from Charlie Kirk. Okay, great. Delicately remind them they are there for one-person security only. I'm somewhat worried about the left trying to end me. Why in the world are people like Baron Coleman here absolutely lying through their teeth and now taking our position after all of this time? For 11 months, I've been saying that Candace Owens has been making Charlie Kirk say things he didn't really say. She's putting out messages with no evidence that Charlie Kirk wrote them. The moment Andrew brings out a text message that Charlie Kirk wrote, now he's taken our position after 11 months of defending Candace Owens doing it. He says, and I know this is a short video, so you might not be able to see it very well, but the options here are A, let Charlie Kirk rest in peace, or B, make him out to be a massive liar and hypocrite by releasing messages, whether real or fake, that contradict his public statements and positions. Gee, tough call. But Candace Owens put these text messages out. Famous effing last words. Fun fact, Charlie Kirk, even when you put this into Grok, AI, or do a Google search yourself anywhere, every single source will tell you that there is no public record ever of Charlie Kirk saying the F word in public. Same thing with him converting to Catholicism. Same thing with him supposedly hating Ben Shapiro. None of that you can find in the public anywhere. There are so many things Candace Owens has put out there that Charlie Kirk has never, ever, ever done in public that it makes this look so silly when he says, oh, let him rest in peace, and then you make him look like a liar and a hypocrite by releasing messages, whether they're real or fake, because they came from his queen, Candace Owens. But tell me what you all think about this down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. The full video that I covered...
Yeah, so if you're not watching RD Trolls, you should subscribe. I'm using his content here because he breaks it down really nicely. But basically, I mean, there's so many points I want to make here. I'm starting to really like this Andrew Wilson guy. He's just making Candace look into like a fool, which is probably why she's taking another week break right now. She doesn't know how to respond to this. And this part of the video is a tweet by Baron Coleman saying, let Charlie rest in peace, stop sharing his private messages. Because Andrew Wilson is sharing this one. He didn't say that when Candace was pumping out obscure messages, right? This message was from the day before he was murdered, saying that he was afraid that the left was trying to kill him. That's much more direct. It's much more recent, proximate in time to the murder than just saying, "Oh, it leaves me no choice. I have to leave the pro-Israel cause." And the other thing is that Barron is saying that he's a liar and a hypocrite. How is this imply that Charlie is a liar and a hypocrite? He said publicly that the left was trying to kill him. Don't believe me? Let's watch. Okay, this is a lot longer video. By the way, hold on one second. I wanna fix my setup just for a second. You guys are my guinea pigs. Okay. I wanted to be closer. I wanted you guys to get a close-up view of my face. So let's take this.
And I certainly
you
don't
know
like marijuana smoke. Sometimes if you're a football player, you got to play in the snow. Sometimes if you're a baseball player, you have to play in the wind and the rain. Sometimes if you're a political commentator fighting for Jesus and fighting for liberty and fighting for America, you got to play in the weed. And so we talk about a lot of different stuff throughout this conversation. I'm going to break this up and tell you at certain moments, I feel as if I should have injected myself more, some points that I wish I would have made, and honestly, some points that I think I did pretty well at. And so throughout this conversation with Bill Maher, I'm going to...
Eclipsed. I will do that because it actually shows up on my recommendation list. But it's an hour interview. Okay, I the main thing I wanted to show on this, I think this is around the beginning part that I want to show.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
And this was recommended to me previously by Save Smiles, who always comes up with good video advice.
Us?
Well, pardon me.
Is there someone?
Thanks for having me.
You're not expecting trouble, are you?
Not
You
quite.
travel with security?
Unfortunately.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow. Like what kind?
No. Security.
Like bodyguards? You know, when I went to Europe in 2015, I had like two Israeli bodyguards, and my security person was right after the one of the Islamic unfortunate incidents. Was it the Paris? There was two big things at that time. Paris, right?
What year was this?
2015.
Okay, so that would have been the Charlie Hebdo situation.
Hebdo certainly was the year
if I'm
before.
recalling, yes.
I think, and then there was
the tolerant Muslim.
yes,
yeah.
and you know I've been very.
You've been extraordinary on that.
Thank you. So we were like extraordinary to you, but we were like.
Dude, Tucker Carlson does not like this. His so-called friend Charlie Kirk is not a big fan of the Islamists.
Very, and like I pictured this. I never toured Europe before as a comic, you know, and there are places you can where they speak English. It was fun, but I also made it a vacation. I took my girl I was with at the time. I pictured this bucolic, beautiful European springtime. Of course, it was wedged between the two giant Israeli bodyguards the whole way.
If you want security, the Israelis know what they're doing.
Exactly. So
Uh-oh.
it was not the vacation I planned. But, well, I'm sorry that you have to do that, but that's the price of fame. And, boy, you're everywhere. You're
we
like
have
the new
No,
podcast. No, it's true.
We have different jihadis that want to kill me. The purple-haired jihadis, the woke guys.
Well, they want to kill me. They want to kill me just as bad.
Probably.
Oh, they really do.
No, you've been very outspoken on the woke stuff. Big time.
Yes. I mean, and they, just the way within a religion, they hate their own apostates more.
Okay, I just wanted to share that clip because, again, this is not when Baron Coleman accuses Charlie of being a liar and a hypocrite. He was not a liar and a hypocrite. He publicly said that the left was trying to kill him, as we just witnessed, and privately said that. That's very different. So where's the hypocrisy in that, or where's the lie in that, Baron? You're the liar and the hypocrite, and you're an idiot. So I do want to watch. Oh shit. Okay. Here's. Were you guys able to hear that at all? Did it just go completely quiet? Because I could play it again. If you were not able to hear it, I can play it again. So Nikki asks, is the judge going to make a decision on September 1st about the Macron case? I don't know. I don't know if that was at the deadline that the judge set. I have no idea. I could just Google that if you want. Yeah, it says, according to Google, that there is not a specific date or deadline to release his decision on the motion to dismiss. So, September 1st, I think maybe you're getting that mixed up with the Tyler Robinson case. By the way, let me share. Let me just real quickly share this link on X. So, again, I'm beginning to change my opinion about the Andrew Wilson Candace Owens debate. That was the victim's advocate. You're talking, but that's not the Macron case. You're talking about the Tyler Robinson case. Saves, yes, I saw that, and we watched it. And yeah, I'm sure he said it many times. Charlie Kirk was no. Look, here's why motive is typically not enough to convict somebody alone. Okay, you can consider motive as part of evidence, but a motive is not by itself going to be enough to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. Let me give you an example. If a wealthy businessman gets murdered, you're going to have a lot of people with motives. The wife is going to receive the inheritance, or the kids. That is motive, or insurance policy. There's going to be employees that were fired recently. That's going to be motive. There's ongoing lawsuits. You know, if you're a wealthy businessman, usually you're subject to ongoing lawsuits. All those people have motive. There's competitors in the same business. That's motive. So, can all those people be responsible for the murder? I mean, theoretically, hypothetically, yes, but usually it's one person that does it. And I just pointed to 5 different categories of people with motive. So you can't just look at motive and assume that that qualifies as evidence by itself. Charlie Kirk, there were probably millions of people out there that you could say had a motive to kill Charlie Kirk, but there's evidence of only one person that did it. Right now there is. So motive alone is never, ever going to be enough to get to reasonable doubt. Again, you can consider it. A jury will be allowed to consider it. And let me actually look up. There's a specific jury instruction. Let me look it up for Utah. Instruction regarding motive. Let's see if... Okay. So this is the official text of CR, jury instruction CR 214 motive. Okay, let me actually click on it so I can get the specific instruction. By the way, if you ever want to look at like kind of rules about criminal proceedings or evidence or things of that nature, I think that the best way to do it is to look at jury instructions. This is what the jury is actually instructed during the criminal case, or their civil jury instructions as well. Judges read these usually verbatim. Sometimes they make little changes, but let me give you an example. CR 102. This is about what an information is, which is kind of like the criminal complaint in a case. So here the jury instruction says, the prosecution has filed a document called an information that contains the charges against the defendant. The information is not evidence of anything. It is only a method of accusing a defendant of a crime. The information will now be read. Read the information. So that would be the charging document. The defendant has entered a plea of not guilty and denies committing the crimes. Every crime has component parts called elements. The prosecution must prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Until then, you must presume that the defendant is not guilty. The defendant does not have to prove anything. He or she does not have to testify, call witnesses, or present evidence. Here's actually an important one that I think everybody should know. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution has the burden of proving the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Some of you may have served as jurors in civil cases, where you were told that it is only necessary to prove that a fact is more likely true than not true. In criminal cases, the prosecution's proof must be more powerful than that. It must be beyond a reasonable doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is proof that leaves you firmly convinced of the defendant's guilt. There are very few things in this world that we know with absolute certainty. And in criminal cases, the law does not require proof that overcomes every possible doubt. If, based on your consideration of the evidence, you are firmly convinced that the defendant is guilty of the crime charged, you must find him or her guilty. If, on the other hand, you think there is a real possibility that he or she is not guilty, you must give him or her the benefit of the doubt and find him or her not guilty. Okay, so it's a little bit different than the one in California. California goes into stating in a little bit clearer terms that proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all doubt, because everything in the universe is subject to some doubt. So it's here they say it doesn't have to be proved by absolute certainty. Okay. I'm not going to read all of this. I just want to get to the motive. A defendant's mental state is not the same as motive. Motive is why a person does something. Motive is not an element of the crime charged in this case. As a result, the prosecutor does not have to prove why the defendant acted or failed to act. However, a motive or lack of motive may help you determine if the defendant did what he or she is charged with doing. It may also help you determine what his or her mental state was at the time. So, in other words, motive is not something that the prosecution has to prove. In the Tyler Robinson case, they are alleging a motive, political motive. That's a sentencing enhancement. But it's not even a necessary element that you have to prove motive in any case or in any criminal case in Utah. So, my point is that all this evidence that gives, circumstantial evidence that Israel had a motive to kill Charlie, that's not sufficient. That's not enough evidence in a court of law to prove anything. And the same applies to Charlie's text saying that the left was trying to kill him. That's not evidence that can be used against Tyler Robinson either. But it is useful information. It does show that what Charlie Kirk was afraid of. And when you couple that with all the actual evidence that Tyler Robinson is guilty and that he was motivated politically, it counters Candace Owens' stupid evidence. You guys, I am turning on the air conditioner. You guys, it's hot in here. So, yeah, you can always find a motive for anybody. I mean, I'm sure that, just think about like how many people you have a problem with. If one of them ends up dead, they could say you have a motive. It's an investigative lead. It's definitely worth considering for investigators, but it doesn't mean crap in a court of law. I take that back. It's not that it doesn't mean crap. It can help explain other evidence and inferences, but by itself, it doesn't mean anything. Now, let's go back because I want to take Eclipse Truth up on her suggestion. Now we watch.
No, it's true. We have different jihadis that want to kill me. The purple jihadis, the woke guy.
I think that the actual jihadis probably wanted to kill him also. Oh, you guys have to watch this.
They say Morocco opened up the gates one night. 60,000 crossed, it was Israel's fight to punish Spain for speaking out of turn. Now they rub their hands as the cities burn. Years old tweet is the smoking gun they found. So obviously the Jews planned the whole damn round. To hey, rots your brain, it rots your brain. Makes you see a flood in every drop of rain. Connects the dots until the picture's insane. To hey, rots your brain, it rots your brain. Egypt lost a Messi and the whole world knew. The ref had his orders from the Israeli crew. Beepers in their pocket, the whistles under control. Zionist conspiracy stole the World Cup goal. One bad call and suddenly the Jews are to blame. Same old script, just a different game. Jew hate rots your brain, it rots your brain. Get a joyride on the conspiracy train. When you talk, others around you wince in pain. Jew hate rots your brain, it rots your brain. Machine for the floods in Spain. Space lasers to vaporize the slain. Mossad trained sharks to eat Egyptians. They say an October 7th was a false flag play. They kill their own to get the world to cry. Anything that happens, the Jews did it. Why? hey, rots your brain, it rots your brain. All your rational thoughts wash down the drain. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hey, rots your brain, it rots your brain. It started with the wells they said we poisoned, then the plague we carried in our coats. Blood in the mats of children in the cellar, same old story in a different quote. From the Middle Ages to the latest feed, the script never changes, just the speed. Now they shout genocide with the same old fire, while the numbers shift and the facts retire. Frothing at the mouth, they scream all over the news. Everything that's wrong in the world was done by the Jews. If you believe everything the Jew haters said, tell me, has the rod already reached your head? Hey, rots your brain, it rots your brain. With that wide-eyed stare, you've clearly gone insane. It'll ruin your life, but you can't complain, 'cause hey, rots your brain, it rots your brain. Hey, rots your brain. It always did.
Okay, that had nothing to do with anything. It was just showed up on my feed, and they put out some good videos. But let's get to there's another good one actually. I like the animation too. Hi Alita. Hi everyone.
Remember the good things, remember the mission, remember what he taught us, what he taught the world. So we're constantly like,
Welcome to another episode.
And if you're not watching Chicks on the Right, then you're messing up in life, because they're awesome. Always have been. Yes, Jacqueline, I do, but I'm afraid to say it because I don't want anyone to spam me. So if you find me on X, DM me. Just look for, I'll type it in the chat. Yeah, if you're not watching Chicks on the Right, then you're messing up in your life. Okay, so let's watch this.
Episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast. We are so stoked to have with us Andrew Colvett, executive producer.
Andrew Colvett also seems like a good guy. I like him. I should create a new email under the Whole Truth name. Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think I'll do that. I don't know how I get so many emails that it will be hard for me to check it regularly. Jacqueline, I've seen that video by Milk Bar, and I will play it. But yeah, Milk Bar put together a compilation of how many times Candace Owens explicitly accused Erica Kirk of involvement in Charlie Kirk's death. Yeah, and by the way, Jacqueline, if you don't have X, do not get it. It is a cesspool. But what I'll do is I will create an email address like wholetruth12@gmail.com. I don't know if it's taken. But okay, let's get watching.
Of the Charlie Kirk Show and also TPUSA spokesman. And we have so much stuff that we want to ask you about. But before anything else,
we are coming up on a very sad anniversary, obviously, the anniversary of Charlie's assassination. And we were hoping that maybe you could talk a little bit about what you miss most and maybe share an anecdote with our audience that they may not have heard about Charlie before, maybe your relationship with him.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that this is a great question. I just want to say how much I totally dig you guys. I relatively recently discovered you, and I apparently we talked about it just before we started rolling here. I just, my mentions on Twitter are off or something, but I think you guys are wonderful, and I love your spirit. I love how spicy you are, and you're fearless. And I've just become a huge fan of what you guys do and how you approach things. And when people come after you and you send them back, and it's so fun. So sometimes I've gotten stuck watching your comment threads. That's actually my favorite part. Is
right.
I know it's how you deal with the haters. I thought it was great. So
thank you.
but you guys are wonderful, and thank you for being Team Sanity. And by the way, I should say, just with all this Lindsay Clancy stuff going on, and everybody's coming after women. I just want to say, there are good women out there. Look at right here. We have them. I'm married to one. She's amazing, totally sane and normal, has her common sense. And you guys are wonderful representatives of that. So,
thank you.
Yeah, we have our 1 year coming up. And, it's constantly this battle for me, personally, because I think people, that they're analyzing everything we say, or are we sad enough? Are we too happy? Or are we not talking about it enough? And people don't understand that we have a job to do every day. We have to do the basic blocking and tackling of running an organization with 1,200 employees across the different groups, and we've got to plan everything that we're doing for 9/10, which is a lot of stuff, because Charlie deserves everything that we can possibly do for him to remember him, and just like you said, remember the good things, remember the mission, remember what he taught us, what he taught the world. So we're constantly in the trenches, working on stuff. I remember leading up to the memorial. It was we had 1 week to plan a 70,000 plus person event with all of these world leaders coming, and Elon Musk and all this. And it's just you don't have time to even assess what you feel.
All of these world leaders are coming. I wonder if Netanyahu's coming. I don't know. I'd like to see him come just to piss off Tucker Carlson, if no other reason, and Candace Owens. But, TPUSA has to choose what's best for their image and everything, and Netanyahu. By the way, I'm kind of hope that Israel votes in someone other than Netanyahu, which is coming up, I think, in a month or two, their elections. But that is a video for another time.
Half the time. And, I would just say, it's one of those things. Me and my wife, we were on a road trip this weekend. I took my phone away. My wife took, I promised her that I was going to be off social media for the weekend. And, we were driving through the desert with our kids in the back. And she kind of looked at me and she was like, I just had one of those moments. And I was like, what is that? And she said, I still can't believe he's gone.
Yeah.
And she was quoting me, because over the last year, I've just had, so many moments where I just have to pinch myself and realize this is real life, that Charlie isn't with us anymore, because he still feels so present.
Yeah.
I'm in his studio right now doing this interview with you, and I'm looking at his chair right here. I'm looking at his the little toys from his daughter that she would give him before he went on air, and he would hold them up when she was watching the show, so she knew that he remembered the toys and brought them with him, and so it's everywhere. His pictures right here over my shoulder, and so it's just one of those things. It doesn't feel like a year has gone by. It feels like a blink, and I feel like I still miss him as much as I did the moment I found out he was gone. So it's hard.
But Candace was his only true friend, right? Not the person who's sitting with pictures of him and toys given to him by his daughter.
Because you're expected to sort of like, and I'm a guy, like I if you tell me to cry and be emotive on command, I can't do it. Like I can't do it. And so I'm very good at sort of bifurcating my emotions and focusing on the task at
You're
hand.
compartmentalizing, really, if you think about it.
I have
words,
compartments of where my emotions go, and so that's I can't help that I'm like that, I guess. Maybe but
Andrew's not picking up on their mocking of Candace Owens and her failure to say basic words like anecdote or compartmentalize.
It's like people don't see the tears in quiet or those moments where you just can't believe that and I think that's where I just land is I just can't believe he's gone. I still can't believe it.
We can't either. Just curious, because we have like our little origin story of the chicks and how we met each other and we became best friends. How did you meet Charlie? How did you meet him?
Yeah, I met Charlie basically because I guess he was at some event. I was working in Hollywood. I was working with Mark Burnett, the producer of like The Voice and Celebrity Apprentice and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we did the Bible series together. I helped launch the Bible series, and I helped launch AD The Bible Continues. And I was working on Ben-Hur, and then kind of we left and we started a PR company. And because there was a big need, it felt need in those times because Mark was very successful, and there was a bunch of people in the faith and nonprofit space that wanted PR. So I never had wanted to do PR at all, but I also thought it could be a cool part-time job while I wrote screenplays. That was my grand plan. And before I knew it, the PR gig just became more than full-time, and it really took off. And the guy who owned that company basically ran into Charlie in South Florida at an event, and then he sent me a note. He said, "Hey, I've met this guy, Charlie Kirk. You should follow up with him. He seems like a mover and a shaker, like he's going places, somebody that we should probably work with."
Mm-hmm.
And I had not heard of him at that point. And I said, "Okay, I'll check him out." So I did. I checked him out, and I was like, "Okay, a little rough around the edges. Like his suits don't fit quite right, but maybe this would be a good fit." And I was somebody that I was a devout Christian, still am. My faith's really important to me, and I was a part of a church plant at the time, and I was kind of working with like this faith-based stuff. I never intended to do that, and I found myself kind of more gravitating to the politics side of stuff. So one of our clients at the time was PragerU, and the team there, they were in LA. I was in LA, so it was kind of fun. I got to actually go into their office and hang out with them. And then I started working with the Blaze and the guys over there, and really enjoyed it, and had some good stories that we get.
Everyone, I'm going to be right back, but I'm going to keep it playing.
Success stories that we could share. And then I started just kind of emailing Charlie saying like, "Hey, I think we could help you. I think we could help you." And he kind of ghosted me at first, and then I think some kind of bad press hit, which was very common in those early days for Charlie. And he finally kind of threw up his hands and said, "Okay, I'm gonna consult some other people." And so he was traveling through LA and said, "Hey, let's meet for dinner." And we did, and hit it off really, really quickly. And that was kind of the early days. And eventually, about a year in, he basically said, I don't necessarily like that you have other clients, and so I'm either going to fire you or you can set up shop on your own. I'll be your first client, and I want more of your time. So I said, okay. I talked about it. And actually, it's funny. I talked about it with my wife because at that point, I still wasn't really like fully. I don't know. I still had this aspiration in the back of my head of being like a screenwriter, producer, or something like that. I'm so glad that didn't work out. It's a terrible industry to get into. And so my wife was like, and she's, very prayerful. She has great intuition. I believe she hears from the Lord. And she came to me, she goes, "I think this is a no-brainer. This is totally the Lord. Like, you need to say yes to this. This is totally the Lord." And I knew that once I did that, I was kind of burning my boats in Hollywood, right? You kind of work directly with somebody like Charlie. And I mean, it was already kind of, the cat was out of the bag with Prager, the Blaze, but I could kind of, claim, third party connection to them, but not anymore. So it was an important choice for me, just kind of say, hey, I'm going all in. I'm burning the boats, and I don't care if that has consequences elsewhere. And so, yeah, that was kind of how it worked. And so I set up shop, set up my own company, and Charlie was my first client of that company, and had a few others, but Charlie definitely, if you've ever been around Charlie, he had a way of occupying all of your time. And, he was constantly moving, constantly on to the next thing, constantly the new event, constantly the new challenge, the new initiative. And so we sat down, and he said, during that conversation, I'll never forget. It's actually a funny anecdote of Charlie, because in those days, Charlie was still I think he had 300, 400,000 Twitter followers. It was just big, but not 6 million, like he would eventually have. So, he said, I want you to set up shop. I will be your first client, and I want to start a podcast with you. Because he knew that I kind of had production background and things like that. And he goes, I'm really smart. I can do this. I really can. And at that point, it was like Ben Shapiro was the top dog, and he was like, "I can do what Ben does. I can do it." And I was like, "I believe you, Charlie. I believe you. So let's get going." And so it took us about a year because there was just too much stuff going on. But then we eventually signed with a group called Podcast One out of Beverly Hills, which the owner of that, the founder of that, had started Westwood One, and so I thought it was a good fit. And off to the races we were doing one podcast a week, and then eventually that kind of took us into COVID, and Charlie was like, I want to do more content.
This is a response to Van Cruz. Charlie didn't attack Candace publicly, but I think Andrew Wilson is about to drop a whole lot more text messages that might show what he thought about her privately. And I do think that, someone's public statements are more reflective of how they actually feel because it's more well thought out. It's what they choose to present. Whereas in private, you might just be venting and you need a lot more context. But that's been my point about the whole Israel controversy, how in public he was still a friend to Israel, and in private he might have had his misgivings, but that's not a complete reflection of how he felt, especially when you take one message where he's obviously just venting.
He was sitting around, he couldn't do campus tours, couldn't do any of these events, especially at first. And so we ended up going to 3 podcasts a week, and then quickly, it all happened very quickly. And then he was like, well, I want to do 5 a week. And then I want to just do 10 a week. I mean, the guy just had this endless energy. And I'm talking about the transition from 1 to 10 a week happened within about 2 weeks. Him, ramping up. And so, and then BLM happened, and it was this spark. Our numbers were good, but they weren't like rocket ship good. And then we started releasing all this content, and then I'll never forget, Charlie did this selfie video, just so mad at the black squares, and it was like our numbers quadrupled overnight. He just raged against it. He's like, you people, you posted the black squares, you're going to be the first one to call the police if something goes wrong, and you're demonizing it. And he was just so ticked off and so agitated by it. And next thing we know, so that was, May 2025 during COVID. And by October 1st of 2020, I said 2025, I meant 2020. By October, we had taken the podcast to broadcast and signed a radio deal. And then by, I think, June of 2022, we started simulcasting on Real America's Voice after Steve Bannon. And, the show just grew leaps and bounds. And Charlie just became such a good broadcaster, such a good communicator. It really did help the way that he communicated on stage and in those debates. He really had hours and hours to hone his communication style and his ideas. It really forced him to think deeper. And, it was a joy and the honor of a lifetime to be able to watch him grow like that.
Did you watch him as he developed his relationship with Erica? Were you around for when they began their relationship? And how did it change him? Like, what were you able to see just being around him every day?
Yeah, so Charlie drove me up a wall when I first started working with him, like completely. He would call you at like odd hours. He would, it was like there was never any downtime. I mean, that's kind of why his final book, Stop in the Name of God, was so important to him, because he was the chief beneficiary of learning some structure and some boundaries on his life. And man, it used to drive my wife crazy. Like we can never have family time and all this stuff. And so I actually, the first time I met Erica was actually at Politicon. I think it was 2018, but it could have been 2019. I can't remember. But it was that during that famous interaction where Charlie gets into it with Cenk from the Young Turks, and he's debating Hassan Piker, and those clips have now gone viral again, because we're still debating the same things apparently. But so I remember. So I walk up. It was in Los Angeles. It was Politicon, and Charlie's got this blonde gal next to him, and I'm like, who is she? Like, why is she here? And Charlie was just like, oh, she's a friend. She's a friend. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And then, Politicon happens. He gets up out of his seat. He hated that clip, by the way, because it was very unlike Charlie, actually, when you know the totality of who Charlie is and how he comported himself. But he's like, I live like a capitalist every day, and he gets it. He's walking out of Politicon, and everybody's like, Charlie, Charlie. The chant. It was the first time I heard the Charlie chant, and we walk out, and I remember my hands were all sweaty, going like, how am I going to spin this? This is pretty, because at that time, Charlie was this young upstart whippersnapper that all the establishment and the conservative media hated, and they loved to write negative stories about him. And I was like, this is only going to make my job harder. This is great. Okay. And so my hands are sweating. The kids are shouting Charlie, and then there's Erica, like, calm as a cucumber, just kind of like smiling, and I didn't know.
Is he referring to the debate between him and Hassan Piker, where Charlie berated Hassan for being a what's the word, what's the term? Well, whatever, being a rich communist, for preaching what he doesn't practice. And Charlie was saying, I'm a capitalist. I live like a capitalist, and I promote capitalism, whereas you live like a capitalist, Hassan Piker, and you promote communism for others. I thought that was a really good line. And Hassan Piker still clearly takes it to heart, which is why we saw his disgusting display recently. I actually want to see it because I haven't seen it in its totality, but basically mocking Charlie Kirk's death. Shortly after Hassan came out in favor of Candace Owens. That says a lot. Yeah, he said Cenk. Yeah, so I haven't seen this debate between Charlie and Cenk, but I wonder what it was about. Was it about Israel? If anyone knows, I'm curious.
Exactly what she was doing there, but eventually I learned, and I would just say Erica changed him for the better in so many ways. He got instantly way cooler. She helped him on the cool factor. It was so one of the like underappreciated like cooler aspects of Charlie as he aged and kind of like found his cool factor. If you notice that, like, when he would go to campus, like in the 2023, 2024, 2025, he'd come out in like athleisure wear, like sweats, tennis shoes, t-shirt, and had his Mid Majesty tea to keep his voice and his his lozenges and all that stuff. And it was like he just looked cool. Like I don't know,
he had swagger.
He had swag. He had some serious swag, and I remember like that was all Erica. Like Erica, helped him like something about, and I think. For married men in general, and I had the same experience, when you have the love of a good woman in your life, like all those weird male insecurities of adolescent years and the early 20s, they kind of fade away because you have this person in your life that loves you for you and actually just really adores who you are, and that like the healing effect for a young man that experiences that kind of unconditional love is really profound. And I just saw that it's just calming effect, and then she helped him grow closer in his faith with Jesus, and that was so apparent because she's a very serious Christian, and she's such like, I hate to say it because people will just mock you for it, but like Erica Kirk is literally like an angel.
We say this
everybody around here will
all the time. We are always like,
I know, but it's like it gets mocked because it's like
I hope Andrew. I mean, I hope Candace watches this and just seethes with anger at how much all these people love Erica and respect her and know that she and Charlie were a true Christian couple. And Candace is a cockroach. So I hope she knows that.
Like, angel demon comparison. I'm not trying to do it. She just is literally one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. She's caring. She's thoughtful. She puts you before herself. She's always worried about you. And Charlie was the same way. Charlie used to always, when we would get, there would be tough travel situations or like logistics, tough on the family. He would, I don't know how he did this, but he would always kind of reach out and be like, hey, we can put you up at this hotel, or we can get you somebody to come pick you up, or one time I was really sick. I was down in Phoenix just for work because I didn't live in Phoenix before Charlie was killed. I moved my family here after the fact, but I was stuck alone in a hotel, and I don't know if I had COVID or something, but I was like dying, and we had a big day the next day, and Charlie called like a local friend that does those mobile IV clinics and stuff, and the guy comes in the middle of the I don't know, it was like 11:30 or something, comes in, I'm literally dying in a hotel room, and he gives me the IV, and Charlie's like, I was like, how much do I owe him? Charlie's like, I took care of it, don't worry about it. That was the way that Charlie was. That's the way Erica is, and it's one of the tragedies that
It's not the way Candace is.
The aftermath is that Erica's been so maligned,
It makes us
because
rage. It just
legitimately
makes
she
us
is the
rage.
nicest person you will ever meet.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she changed him for the better in so many different ways. It's and then when they had kids, it just took it to the next level. And Charlie used to always say, "They're my why," that this is why I do it. And I thought that was a really apt way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that Eric has been treated it's horrendous. It's that we talk about that a lot. We also talk about how, when it happened, I feel like the only silver lining was that so many kids, my daughter is 16 and she already is a Christian, but she's like, Mom, a lot of my friends are asking about Turning Point, and college kids were asking about Turning. So a lot of kids were turning to Christ during that time, which is the only.
Still are.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. How is membership? Is it still
I have a
on that
one-year
upward?
document we're working on right now. I can read you some of the by the numbers.
I would love that because I feel like the death of
we're getting that question a
USA
lot.
is being very over exaggerated by some people right now.
Right.
So
We're sick of hearing
The
that.
stories of our demise have been greatly exaggerated.
So there you go.
No. I mean, it's all growing, so I can put your minds at ease in that way. I mean,
Good.
at our chapter leadership summit, and we had it.
That's what I want to hear. TPUSA growing. Candace Owens, you're going nowhere. You're going to be stomped by the boot of truth. And TPUSA is going to outlast you. While you're nobody, bankrupted by the Macrones and the Harpoles and the Kirks, TPUSA is still going to matter. I just hope that TPUSA also keeps in mind their other friends that have sided with Candace or have pussyfooted around calling out Candace, because now is the time to pick the side. You could either be on the side of the cockroach sewer rat, or you could be on the side of Erica Kirk. You can't be in the middle. It's one or the other. That's my take. By the way, there was an interesting clip, and I'll get back to this in a second, but I don't want to get copyright strike or anything. There was an interesting clip of Joe Kent being interviewed recently. I forget who. Where Joe Kent even stated that he did not find it odd. First, he stated that he was not the source for Candace Owens' claim that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on UVU campus the day that Charlie was killed, or unalived, sorry. But he said that he didn't even think that would be odd in a campus that large. And I said this many times. If anything, I would expect there to be even more Israeli cell phones on the average American campus. But 12 certainly doesn't strike me as odd. And I found it interesting because Megyn Kelly brought that point up when she was saying that there should have been more investigation or what have you, like as though she knows how much investigation there was. It was with Viva Frei. Yeah. So, I'll give Joe Kent credit for saying something true there. It's not surprising. And Megyn Kelly, again, just looks like a fool for pointing that out as though it means anything.
For those who don't know, these are like our top leaders that come once a year for something we call CLS, Chapter Leadership Summit. And I think our last year one, before when Charlie was still with us, was I think like 1,000, 1,200, something like that, students from across the country. And not all of them can make it, obviously, because you might have top students that can't come in. So, but it is still a really strong number to have your top like Green Berets come. Have over 1,000 of them. We had 2,500, over 2,500.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually probably closer to 2,600.
And was that college? Was that college and
high school?
Okay.
Yeah, college and high school, but mostly college just because of the travel. Because if you're in high school,
Right.
parents want to come. It's a little harder for them. But still, I mean, just an amazing showing for. Again, this is not all our students. These are just the leaders of the chapter.
Yeah.
So 2,500 of them. We sat them all down, did like round tables with them, and they're all just like the best kids. These kids will give you hope for the future like you wouldn't believe. And most of them are serious Christians and they love America and they're not dooming. They're working on being part of the solution. So anyways, so we have over 3,500 Club America chapters. That's our high school chapters, which is up 180% from the previous year.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. And by the way,
everyone, please hit subscribe, like, share, help me grow my channel. Hi, Angie. Everyone, we're going to Angie's house for dinner because she's getting started cooking dinner at 2:45, or maybe she's probably on the East Coast. Scratch that. If you're on the East Coast, though, we could all go to. You could go to Angie's house for dinner. I'm inviting everyone.
the high schools, people are asking me, what's it like on the college level now? And I'm like, well, actually, the colleges are pretty much all like they fought us for years, but now they're kind of like letting us start chapters. So there's not a whole lot of sort of institutional resistance on the college level. But you'd be surprised. It's mostly like the Christian schools, quote unquote Christian schools, that give us the problem. Yeah,
Really?
believe it or not, and that includes Catholic schools. But even now, the Ivies are letting us form chapters. They didn't let us do that for a long time. So credit where it's due. It's the high schools though that tend to be the most problematic, which is crazy.
Wow.
The number of like straight up radical DSA communist types that run these high schools would shock you. But we're still over 3,500, which is massive. I think we had just over 1,000.
Yeah, Angie, what are you making us? What are you making us? I'll fly out to. If you're Central Standard Time, then you're not too far. You're making ribs? I'm down. Everyone, party at Angie's house. She's making smoked ribs. And mashed taters. That sounds really good.
When Charlie died, and so to be at 3,500, people don't understand the amount of work it takes to start a chapter. You got to get staff involved. You got to get administrators to sign off on it and bless it. You've got to get like a faculty member, like a teacher or something like that to sponsor it. And then you have to have a core group of kids. You got to go through the paperwork. So this is a long process. So it's 3,500 and counting.
Amazing.
To put it in perspective, Charlie's own alma mater took us like 3 years to get RSO status.
Wow.
For high school.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It can be really, really challenging. So some of these, there's a ton of these in process, but just put it 3,500 plus, up 180%. 1,500 college chapters now, up 64%. We had about, I think, like 800-900 before Charlie was killed, and so to have 1,500, and we used to say, if you get to 1,000, then you're pretty much topped off, because you got commuter schools. It's hard to form around. You got The schools just aren't well positioned to form a core group of students to start a group. But we're at 1,500, which is amazing. So that's incredible. Here's a great stat: over 1 million students involved now.
Wow, that's incredible. I just love hearing.
Yeah.
That does give me hope for humanity.
It's really special. And then we have 12,000 churches and pastors have joined our TPUSA Faith Network. We were at like 4,000 ish before Charlie was killed. Now we're at 12,000, so that's amazing.
Well, that's huge. TPUSA seems to be growing exponentially, which is good news. TPUSA is a good organization. Just don't want them to have anything to do with Tucker.
More than 2,500 attended our chapter leadership summit, more than twice the 2024 attendance. And by the way, 2/3 of those, the summit attendees, became involved with Turning Point after Charlie's death.
What a tribute to his legacy.
Totally.
I'm so angry anytime I hear that you guys are going down. TPUSA is finished. I mean, it's all so enraging. And I know I mentioned to you before we started recording off air how much we have loved when you have responded to some of Candace's attacks and you've gone after her on X, and we've loved that. I'm just wondering from a PR standpoint, because that is obviously your background and your job, what, like at the beginning when it all started to happen, and you guys, I thought you were taking kind of the high road when this all started to get sort of crazy. And it made us crazy because we were like, you need to fight back. We were thinking, and we were fighting back for you. And we were like,
oh, you have no idea how many times I heard
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
idea.
curious about, because now, sometimes you pipe in. I know Blake pipes in a lot. Do you have regrets about taking the high road for so long? Do you wish you would have sort of responded earlier? Would it have made
Or
a
is there
difference?
is there a giant strategy here that we're just unaware of?
Well, if there is a giant strategy, then I really can't reveal it to you right now,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Not on our show? Come on, Andrew.
I hope there is a giant strategy. I hope that gives me some hope. I hope there's a good giant strategy. Like, if they're going to go after Candace, they need to bankrupt the cockroach, not just, take a few million from her. They got to bankrupt her, put her and Georgie, send George back to Chippendales, and send cockroach Candace back into the sewer. And I hope that her children are okay, though. Nothing against the children. But they would probably do better without the cockroach.
We don't want to ruin any strategy.
I will say this.
I'm kidding.
There was. I mean, listen. At the beginning, you're grieving. First of all,
Right.
You're adapting to a completely different reality than you had just weeks or months before.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also, you don't want to dignify the absurdity either, right? And so I think that factored in. I would also say that Charlie was not one to get involved in the mud with the pigs, right? He wasn't. He really wasn't. I can count on one hand how many times he addressed public criticism on X. He usually took the perspective that you fly above it, that you be louder than the haters, and you do good work, right?
Yes.
I mean, eventually it became very apparent that this thing had grown and metastasized to a point where, and by the way, you're seeing it with the Lindsay Clancy case right now.
You are.
Where there is this just kind of, I don't know what percentage of the internet it is, but it's, you got the true crime brain, the therapy brain, the TikTok brain.
Right.
And it tends to affect, young women. It doesn't mean it's exclusively young women, but it does tend to get kind of the women to the mom, I guess we call.
You hear that? For all the guys that are following Candace, you behave like women. But not most women. Most women are great, but the crazy neurotic women, that's what I think of when I think of a guy that still follows Candace Owens, is a feminine, neurotic woman. Yeah, Greg, I imagine that Andrew knows a lot and that there is a strategy here. Andrew Colvette knows a lot. And right now, I think Andrew Wilson is kind of like their pit bull to do it in the public domain while they're planning some stuff in the back. That could be just some wish casting, but I hope so for all of our sakes because we all have a stake in this. We all have a stake in this. It's not just Erica and TPUSA. All of us that stand by them and have been going out of our way to defend them, I feel like we have a stake in this.
Wine mommy something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
it
you're
seems
right.
to be highly susceptible, right? Like, you know, it kind of reminds me of COVID where they were like, well, if you're over a certain age and over a certain weight, you're prone to getting infected with the virus. It's like the mind virus, whatever this thing is, it just seems to impact a certain subset. So, yeah, I mean, all of those things came into play, but ultimately, I just couldn't remain quiet anymore when I saw that Sean Ryan interview.
Yeah.
Actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first time I kind of piped in was with this, I think there was a suggestion that Candace never said that Erica killed her husband, and I happened to be in possession of a text exchange between her and a former employee of mine that was very, like, my first question for her is going to be, why'd you murder your husband? And so I just couldn't resist, so I chimed in there. But then I was kind of quiet, but, the other thing is that we have a lot of work to do on a daily basis that really does keep us occupied. But then I saw the Sean Ryan interview where my name was invoked, like, I don't know how many times, like over 10
It's
times.
constant.
And the whole time, what was enraging to me actually was like, she would say my name, and then Sean Ryan would just sit back and go, are you effing kidding me? No way.
Oh my
Like,
God,
he just had these like one-word responses.
We make fun of him all the time, Andrew. Yeah.
No, it was just like,
No shit.
effing
That was
way.
his
And I was
no
just like,
shit. Yeah, that's exactly what he
yeah,
said all
exactly.
the time.
And I
Right.
I couldn't stand it anymore. So I really wasn't like, I wish I could say it was like premeditated, or it was like my chiming in there was some part of some grand plan. If anything, it was the reversal of a grand plan. But I just had to set the record straight because my name was being invoked to perpetuate false allegations against Charlie, against the organization, and these conspiracy theories that Israel was somehow involved. And listen, like, from my perspective, at the beginning, I was willing to look into all of that in a very serious way. I mean, this is why the group texts, my ever-loving shame, exists, because I wanted it looked into. I wanted to look at everything. And it's so funny because, like, nobody on that side gives me any credit for that, which, because it doesn't suit their narrative. But
Yeah, I give you credit, Andrew. I said it. I said, Andrew, it's funny that he actually shared the WhatsApp message where Charlie said, I'm going to leave the pro-Israel cause or something. He was venting. He shared that with Joe Kent. And then Joe Kent shares it with Candace. And instead of giving Andrew credit for, trying to leave no stone unturned, they go after Andrew. Why? Because Andrew stands up for Erica and Charlie. So some of us gave you credit, Andrew.
I was willing to look at everything, and I've become convinced that it was disinformation, that there was foreign nudging that was trying to propel that forward, and there's just a lot of idiocy, and then a lot of Jew hate that's going around. So, but whatever. Like, I was willing to look into it because, I remember when he sent that text, I was like, you should probably send that kind of text, in public. And I didn't get a chance to address it with him because he ended up being killed tragically. So, but like, the point is, I just couldn't sit back anymore. And I knew I know a lot of stuff that I haven't said publicly that wouldn't be nice for certain people to hear. And so it's kind of one of those things, eventually you just kind of have to push back. I'm glad I did. I don't regret a single word. And it makes me happy to know that you enjoyed the response.
Oh my gosh, we did.
No
We
idea.
really enjoyed.
I mean, we were just absolutely cheering for them because I think there are a lot of folks out here with podcasts. I know Paramount Tactical. There's all kinds of folks out here who are almost every day reacting in real time to the just nonsense that Candace spews on a daily basis.
lunacy. Absolutely.
And then, so when you guys pipe in, we're like, yes. I mean, it's such validation that the things that we're saying are the truth and that we're pushing back on all of the lies. And so that, of course, leads us to the great debate. And how do you feel like that went?
Before he gets into this, which is going to be interesting, I don't know if I'm going to have time, you guys, to stick around for the whole video. I definitely want to stick around for his take on the great debate. But yeah, I mean, Andrew Colvett should recognize that his voice here, along with Blake Neff, along with Erica, carries a lot of weight. And when those of us that have small platforms and stuff are trying to push back on all the hate, and Andrew just called out the Jew hate, but it's not just Jew hate, it's Erica hate, it's all sorts of hate, and stupidity. They go hand in hand. We could really use as much support from the big time platforms as we can get. So let's hear what Andrew has to say about the great debate.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Candace likes to say that, he was our chosen horse or something like this. Like, no, Andrew Wilson, I like him. I like anybody that is fighting for like sanity and evidence and proof and reason and logic. But I've only met him once when he came to campus and was teaching some of our debaters, the ideas of logical fallacies and debate tactics and things like that. But he did this on his own. I mean, he's been on a mission to debate all these people for, I believe, months now.
It's his whole brand.
So it's like, listen, I support him. I want him to win, obviously. But this is his own thing. And I think he did a great job for himself by going on Rogan and kind of picking the fight and offering up the money. And now everybody knows Andrew Wilson's name. So, good on him, I guess, right? When it comes to the actual debate, would I have done some things differently than Andrew? Probably. I think what I notice is that because he's a logician, he's seeing sort of the debate in a way that I don't think the average viewer is seeing it, right? The average viewer just sees that, Candace kept talking and kind of dominated how much, how much she was saying, and that they just kind of on vibes and feels kind of goes, oh, I think maybe she won. Plus, she has a bigger audience, so she gets to tell them all that she won, and then her audience is just gonna regurgitate and parrot what she says.
Exactly.
But if you actually watch the debate with a discerning eye, and you're looking for concessions, you're looking for logical traps, I think he did brilliantly. And he actually got her to sort of concede the entire premise of the debate very quickly. And also, I think it's one of those things that's going to age very well because,
That's exactly what I just said. Or not just, but that's exactly what I said at the beginning. Wow. Pat myself on the back because that's what I changed my mind. I initially thought that the debate was futile, pointless. It just made Candace Owens more money off the grave of Charlie Kirk. But now I'm beginning to think that maybe, especially after the trial, it's gonna be glorious. It's gonna be glorious to look back at this debate and look back at Candy's cult, and they're gonna look so foolish. So that's exactly what I said.
She basically conceded that she had no evidence multiple times, said, oh, she's because of her professional limitation, she's not able to get it. Well, thanks for all the...
Specifically, the part where she said Tyler Robinson 0% chance, 0. Not even 1%. Man, she is going to look so stupid. So stupid. I'm glad that she said that, because she's going to look so stupid. She's going to be relegated to a third-rate conspiracy Bigfoot podcast with her money, being garnished by all these lawsuits, and she'll probably have to run to Russia.
Death threats, then, I guess, because of your professional limitation. Thank you for me having to have my family flee from multiple homes when we were getting incredible death threats from your audience. This is great. So I'm glad that you did all that on Vibes and Feels and Dreams. And,
She's allowed to think,
receipts
Andrew. She's
that aren't real
allowed to
receipts.
think and to have dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, with the death threats, with the stuff that you guys have been through, with the stuff that Erica, I can't even imagine what she has gone through. Are y'all gonna sue her? Is somebody gonna sue her? Because I know,
Well, she's already being sued.
Yeah,
she's already being sued.
But we need everybody to sue her. Everybody, Andrew. We need to bankrupt her. Is what we need.
Don't reveal
Noted.
anything that you shouldn't, but
I'm just saying.
just know that our heart is
No,
with you.
I hear you. And listen, what
Right.
you're expressing is basically the same emotion when you were waiting for me to chime into the debate and get in the fight. And I understand all that. Trust me. And I'm sorry we kept you waiting as long as we did on that.
No,
It's just,
we totally get it.
just put it this way: there's many considerations to keep in mind. And
Okay.
but I hear you.
Okay, I'm glad that we are heard.
Okay, good. This is why I'm so glad that chicks on the right, are able to have a connection with Andrew, because they're conveying exactly what I'm thinking, which is, can you guys sue the hell out of the cockroach? You guys, no, I'm not trashing the Bigfoot conspiracies. I'm just pointing out that that's where Candace is going to end up with, less viewers than me. By the way, I've had a lot of viewers. You guys, I gotta go help my mother-in-law take care of my baby. Thank you so much. This is I don't golf anymore because it's 5,000 degrees out. So this is what I do for fun, and you guys make it fun, and I truly, truly, truly appreciate it. And we'll catch up on the rest of this video another time. Okay? Love you all. Bye. Oh, by the way, Wednesday I will be with Facts Me. So check that out. I don't know when the video is going to be dropped. It's not live, but that should be fun. So check that out. Okay. Bye, everyone.